So Seattle poker, man, it's interesting. Much like Arizona, a couple other states, there's a cap on the betting. So $500 max bet. The 2-5 is super small. It's $100, $300 buy-in. So you're playing short. Not a lot of mistakes in that game. Everyone seems pretty solid. There's also a 5-5 no limit game that they have where it's you can only buy in for $500. 500 mid, 500 max. It's a good game. Played mostly in that game and did all right. I just thought it kind of ran bad. We're gonna go over some hands that one where I make a big mistake, I think, but I want to explain my mistake, and then a couple kind of coolers. When I was out there, did a couple days in Oregon, then we drove up the coast all the way to Seattle, which was really cool, and then spent a couple days in Seattle. Saw some friends in Seattle, and my buddy Barry from Nashville was kind enough to fly out to Portland and spend a week with me, kind of doing that section of the trip. And then after that, I did a couple days playing cards before heading back east. Yeah, big shout out to Alex and Jamie and all the Douthits. Thanks for the hospitality and the meals. It was appreciated. While I was out there playing cards at Snoqualmie, I met my first fellow vlogger, Tommy Carlo. He's a 2-5 rag out there. And he's got a really interesting vlog. I really like it. It's very dry. The humor's, I don't know. I like it. I feel like if you like The Office or like Arrested Development, it'll be right up your page. Check it out. I'll have a link down in the bio, how to get to his page. But it's good, and if you're a 2-5 rag, he definitely goes over some hand histories and some interesting spots. And he's actually probably already there, but he was trying to get up to a 100K live earnings. So he's kind of vlogging to show the final steps of that. Check it out, definitely recommend it. Let's get to some hands. In this hand, I open up pocket aces to $20 from under the gun after there's one limp in front of me, and we get 5 callers. So we're going 6 ways to flop here with aces, so it's gonna be hard to have a good flop. Flop comes 7-7-3, which is actually a pretty good flop, pretty dry board, single pair, but we're gonna go ahead and check it back because it's one of those situations where we're way ahead or way behind. So we're trying to just do a little pot control here. Turn is a jack of spades, bringing a flush draw out there, and under the gun bets $55 into a pot of 102, so about half size pot. She's a pretty active player, but aces are just too strong to fold here, so we call. This is where the hand gets interesting. It folds around to the button, who is definitely the most competent player at the table. He's pretty sure he's a winning reg, young guy, and just seems like a good player. He raises to 125. Super small raise. Obviously, if we're up against a 7, which you would check behind on the button, I would say at least a percentage of the time we're in really bad shape. Under the gun quickly folds, so the decision's on us, and I really like this play with all 7s, flush draws, maybe flush draws and gutters. When I have aces here, I like my hand less than if I had kings or queens, because he doesn't have an ace high flush draw because I have the ace of spades, and he also, it's less likely he has ace jack. So even though it's super small, I end up letting it go. We're still about 425 effective, so he can put a lot of pressure on me on the river. I fold, he shows ace jack. In this hand, there's 2 limps in front of me, and I raised to $25 from the hijack. With there being 2 limps, my raise size is a little bit bigger instead of my usual 20. So I raise with the jack 9 of spades. 1 limper folds, and under the gun +1 calls. Under the gun +1's a really active player, and we've been getting involved with a lot of hands. Actually, some of the hands on this video are gonna be against this particular villain. Flop comes 9-9-3, gin. So we flop top trips. There's 2 clubs on the board. He checks it over to me. I'm gonna c-bet this flop. Most pair flops, I'm gonna c-bet with all my air, and I need to bet some of my trips, or I'm checking back, just too strong of a range. So I make it 30. He check raises to 60. The effective stacks when we started the hand were $300. I just bought in for the max after getting stacked. And I decide to jam. He snaps it off. I think I'm getting snapped by flush draws and higher pocket pairs. Board runs out 7, then queen. So the flush got there anyways, and he shows ace 9 of hearts. A little bit of a cooler, but I guess I could have called and evaluated turn. 9s, and I open from under the gun +1 to 15. We get 3 callers. Flop is ace 10 8 rainbow. Checks through. Turn is an 8 of clubs, or 8 of spades. Good card. Checks through again. River is a 9. Small blind, who is the guy from the Jack 9 of spades hand, leads out $25. Now we have 9s full of 8s. I value raise to $60. Button tanks and folds, so I'm guessing he folded a straight. And when it gets back around to the small blind, he decides to put some pressure on us. He makes it 260 to go. So I'm calling $200 to win 580 because I have I have 9s full of 8s, and the 8s are on the board. The only hand I really think I'm losing to when he's calling 15 from the small blind is pocket 10s. I say, if you have 10s, they're good. He says I have 10s, but I think he could do it with ace 8, 9 8, 10 8, maybe even some straights, maybe queen jack. I doubt it, but I think in that situation, we got to call it off against this particular opponent. End up being on the wrong side of it again. I open under the gun to $20 with pocket 8s, 2 red 8s, and 4 people call. The flop comes 10 8 3 with 2 spades, and being under the gun, one person acted in front of me who checked. I elect to check, and it checks around to the button, who's a pretty active player, good player though, and I think he gets kind of the lag. He gets the style he's playing and gets value from his hands. He leads pot. With middle set here, and it checking around to the button and him potting it, I mean, he could be as weak as ace 10 here. Or not as weak. I mean, that's obviously a strong hand, top. But I don't want to scare him off. So, and him betting pot, I just decided to flat. Any raise there I think looks really strong. Under the gun +1, cold calls. And I'm not sure what that means. Straight draws, flush draws, along those lines make the most sense. Turn is one of the worst cards in the deck for spades. So it brings a flush draw. And it's hard for someone to have a better 2 pair now. So it's really tough for me to get a lot of value. I check, under the gun +1 checks. Weird. Button bets $250. I still think I hopefully have 10 outs. You know, I don't want to be up against a set here, obviously. But if someone does have a flush, I could potentially have 10 outs. So he bets 250. I kind of go into the tank for a little bit. And I'm also worried about what under the gun +1 is going to do. He has 720 behind. I'm a little bit deeper with that, along with the button. So I'm worried about getting jammed. But I just don't think I can fold for 250. I mean, it's 250 into a pot of 670. Obviously with my 250, now it's going to be 920. So I like to call. And this is what happens, exactly what I didn't want to happen, and kind of why I tanked so long, is pretty quickly under the gun +1 jams. So he bets $720, which is just kind of outside max bet. It goes over to the button, and he goes into the tank for a little bit here. So it looks exactly like under the gun has ace 5 of spades, or, you know, whatever. Looks like he has the nuts. The way the hand was played, cold calling the flop, check raising the turn all in. Looks like he has the nuts. So it looks like he has the nuts. When the button goes into the tank, it's a little bit harder to put him on a range, but I don't think he has pocket tens. I think with pocket tens, he wouldn't go into the tank as long, if that makes sense. So I'm hoping that he has a smaller flush draw. The fact that he doesn't put me in for the rest of my effective stack, I enjoy, happy with, I should say. But when it gets around to me, and I think I'm up against 2 flush draws, and I have 23% equity in the pot, I just have to call. I have to call the 470. It's 470 to win $2,500. So it's just mathematically, it's a call I have to make. I end up finally calling. River rolls out an ace of diamonds. The button, I check, button puts me all in for my last $215. And at that point, it's an easy fold. I'm not beating both players. So always behind there. Saved the last 215. And now it's time to roll over. Under the gun +1. Jam turn with bottom set, with pocket threes. I would not have thought, I don't understand why he cold called the flop to then jam turn when the flush got there. Made no sense. And then the button had king high flush, which when he went in the tank for that long, I mean, you can just tell how strong of a move it looks like. And I don't know why you're turning bottom set into a bluff when you're closing the action. I could be cold calling turn with tops with a flush draw, or the button could have it. It's a really weird play, and I didn't quite understand it. But so let's just check out equities here. I would have 22% equity, as you can see right here, if I was up against 2 flush draws, which most of the time that's what I think I'm going to be up against. I don't think that under the gun's making a move there with bottom set. I definitely think someone else could, but I'm super happy also not to run into pocket tens where I'm practically drawing dead. Here's the equities against the hands that I was actually up against, and I have 16.5% equity. So it's a little low, but with the implied odds of the extra $400, I guess it's about right. I think it's one of those calls you just have to make, and it's part of the variance of poker, right? But I hope you guys enjoyed that hand. Definitely thought it was kind of interesting, and a really weird play to see someone turn bottom set into a bluff. And I wonder if he could have got a smaller flush draw to fold if the button didn't have the king high flush draw, because he kind of went in the tank for a while. I wonder if he was going to be able to fold that. So it's really an interesting play, and I just think I can't fold pocket eights there, even if Wally doesn't call. It's just an interesting hand.